How to lose weight during menopause. What does actually work? Hi, I'm Petra from Lillipin. If you're going through perimenopause and trying to lose weight, you may have reached a point where you're thinking, I'm doing exactly what I used to do, so why is it not working anymore? Maybe you cut calories, you're walking more, you're giving up snacking, but that weight around your middle seems determined not to shift, not even a quarter of an inch. So, does losing weight during perimenopause mean eating less and exercising even more? No, not necessarily. In fact, some of the things that we traditionally do when we want to lose weight may not be the smartest approach at this stage of life. So let's look at what actually matters. First, stop making the scales your only goal. This is probably one of the biggest changes in how we need to think about losing weight in midlife. Women can experience changes in fat mass, muscle mass, and where fat is stored. So imagine you lose some fat while building or preserving muscle. Now, the number on the scale may not change as dramatically as you expected, but your waist measurement might. Your clothes might fit better. You might become stronger. And metabolically, you may be healthier. So yes, weigh yourself if you find it useful. But don't let one number decide what you're actually doing is actually working. Now, the other thing is to protect your muscle. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this video, it's this: don't lose weight at the expense of your muscle. Muscle becomes increasingly important as we get older. And that's one of the reasons why simply eating as little as possible isn't a particularly good strategy. If you lose weight quickly, some of what you're losing can be lean tissue as well as fat. So this is where strength training becomes really important. And no, that doesn't mean you have to suddenly become a bodybuilder. You can use weights or even tins of food that you already have in your kitchen cupboard. Resistant bands are cheap and you can use them for a whole range of simple exercises, for example. You can use machines at the gym or join a Pilates class that includes exercises using your own body weight. And if you have access to a pool, you could try aqua Pilates as an alternative to swimming laps. The natural resistance of the water provides a gentle way to challenge and strengthen your muscles. Now, the aim is to give your muscles a reason to stick around. And there are other benefits too. Strength training can help support your bones, your mobility, your balance, and your ability to remain independent as you get older. So we're not just training for a smaller pair of jeans. We're training for the body that we're going to need in our 60s, 70s, and beyond. And another thing that matters more than you may think is protein. If you're trying to lose weight, it's very easy to focus entirely on calories. But your body also needs enough protein to help maintain muscle. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to live on protein shakes or start weighing every chicken breast that you eat. Think more simply. Look at your meals and ask yourself, where is my protein? Think of eggs, Greek yogurt, fish, chicken, beans, lentils, tofu. Now, whatever works with the way you eat, basically. So, and rather than having almost no protein at all during the day and then have a huge amount at dinner, it's also very useful to include some protein in each meal. You don't automatically have to slash carbohydrates. Carbs tend to get blamed for almost everything when it comes to weight gain, but you don't necessarily need to eliminate bread, pasta, potato, or fruit to lose weight during menopause. If you eat bread or pasta, you can choose whole grain versions more often, for example. What matters much more is the overall pattern of your diet. There's a considerable difference between carbs coming predominantly from vegetables, fruit, whole grains, and legumes, and a diet filled with highly processed foods, sugary drinks, cakes, and biscuits, for example. And don't forget fiber. Fiber can help you feel fuller, support your gut health, and can help with your blood sugar and cholesterol. So instead of asking yourself, how can I remove all those carbs? A better question would be, what kind of carbs am I eating? Watch the calories you don't really notice, because this is a big one that can catch most of us out. You might be eating fairly well and still be consuming considerably more energy than you actually realize. A couple of glasses of wine in the evening, fancy coffees, a handful of nuts every time you walk through the kitchen. A little cheese while you're making dinner. Finishing what the children left on their plates is another one. So none of these foods are automatically a problem. But those little extras can add up without ever feeling like you've eaten very much. So before dramatically cutting your meals, it can be worth looking at the things that you're consuming between them. Walking is still incredibly useful. Sometimes exercise advice becomes unnecessarily complicated. Walking counts. A brisk walk doesn't require a gym membership. You don't need special equipment. And you don't have to be exceptionally fit to start either. Increasing your everyday movement can help with weight management. It can help with cardiovascular health, with blood sugar, mood, and even sleep. And if it's too hot or too cold where you live, you could always invest in a simple walking pad. They're fairly inexpensive and can make it so much easier and get some extra movement into your day. And don't underestimate all the movement that isn't technically a workout. Stairs, for example, walking to the shops, gardening, cleaning the house even, or walking the dog. Getting up from your desk regularly. It all counts and it all adds up. But don't rely on cardio alone. If your entire weight loss strategy has always been, I'll eat less and do more cardio, this may be a good time to rethink it. So cardiovascular health, exercise is excellent for your health. There's no doubt about it. So keep doing it. But do combine it with resistance or strength training rather than making cardio your only form of exercise. Because remember what we are trying to do. We're trying to lose excess fat whilst protecting muscle, not simply make the number on the scale fall as quickly as possible. Sleep is part of your weight loss strategy. This is the bit that nobody wants to hear when they're already lying awake at 3 in the morning, of course. But sleep does matter. It's often underestimated, but it matters more than you might think. When you're exhausted, exercising becomes harder. You may feel hungrier. You may crave foods that give you quick energy. And making sensible food choices becomes considerably more difficult when you're just trying to get through the day. Now, the problem, of course, is that perimenopause itself can disrupt sleep. Hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety, needing the bathroom are all things that simply waking you up for no apparent reason is another one, for example. So if your sleep has deteriorated, don't treat it as something completely separate from your weight. It may be part of the same picture. And look at alcohol. I'm not going to tell you that you can never have another glass of wine, for example. But alcohol is worth looking at honestly. Alcohol contains calories, but that's not the only issue. For some women, it can also make sleep worse. It can trigger and aggravate hot flashes. And after a couple of drinks, the healthy dinner that you planned may suddenly be joined by crisps, cheese, and whatever else happens to be in your cupboard. Now, you don't necessarily have to give it up completely. But if weight loss has stalled, reducing how much or how often you drink may be worth trying. Don't wait for Monday. This is where so many weight loss attempts go wrong. We pick a date. We'll start on Monday, for example. Then Monday doesn't quite go according to plan, so we postpone it until the following Monday. Don't. Your body doesn't know whether it's Monday or Friday, first of all. If you've just eaten something that you hadn't planned to eat, that doesn't mean the whole day is ruined either. So you don't need to wait until tomorrow morning to start again. Any time is the right time to make your next choice or a better one. And don't decide that from Monday you're suddenly going to eat perfectly or exercise every day or give up sugar or stop drinking wine even or walk 10,000 steps or go to bed at 10 and drink 3 liters of water. By Wednesday, you're going to feel exhausted. By Friday, you've had enough. And then you think you failed. You haven't. The plan was unrealistic. That's the truth. So choose 1 or 2 things that you can genuinely maintain. Maybe you start strength training twice a week. Perhaps you add protein to your breakfast. Maybe you walk for 20 minutes after dinner. Or you stop having wine every evening. Then once that becomes normal, add something else. And please be patient. Remember, your body didn't change overnight. Okay? So it's unlikely that it's going to change back overnight either. You don't need to lose enormous amounts of weight to improve your health. And if you're exercising, maintaining muscle, eating well, and your waist measurement is gradually decreasing, that's progress, even if the scale aren't giving you the dramatic number that you were hoping for. So a small gradual loss may not sound particularly exciting, but combine that with a lifestyle that you can actually maintain, and those weeks start adding up. You don't need to spend every day worrying about whether you lost another half a pound. And personally, I wouldn't recommend weighing yourself every day either, because your weight naturally fluctuates from one day to another because of things like fluid, food, hormones, and even bowel movements. So if the number doesn't move or suddenly goes up when you think you've done everything right, that can be incredibly disheartening. If you're going to weigh yourself, try to do it under similar conditions at the same time of the day, at the same time each day. Of, sorry, roughly the same time of day each time. For example, you might weigh yourself in the morning after going to the bathroom and before breakfast. That gives you a much more meaningful comparison than weighing yourself one morning and then again after dinner 3 days later. And remember to look at the overall trend rather than obsessing over one number. Your waist measurement, how your clothes fit, how your strength and how you feel, all those matter too. Remember, it's about becoming healthier and stronger as you move through midlife. What if you're doing all this and nothing is changing? Well, then it's worth looking a little bit deeper. It can be useful to keep track of what you're eating and any medications or supplements you're taking, because certain medications and medical conditions can actually affect your weight. For example, thyroid problems are one of them. And if you're gaining weight rapidly or unexpectedly, or you're struggling to lose weight despite making sustained changes, or something simply doesn't feel right, talk to your doctor or healthcare professional. They may decide that blood tests or other investigations are appropriate to rule out an underlying health issue. And if excess weight is significantly affecting your health, you can also ask your doctor whether medical treatments for obesity might be appropriate for you. But remember, weight loss medications aren't a magic cure either. They're treatments that can be used alongside longer-term changes to your eating habits, activity, and overall health, not instead of them. That's a conversation that you have with your healthcare provider. So how do you lose weight during menopause? Well, there isn't one special perimenopause diet that magically fixes everything. Instead, concentrate on the things that matters most. Protect your muscle, eat enough protein, choose mostly nutritious, minimally processed foods, keep moving, include strength training, pay attention to sleep and alcohol, and make changes that you can actually live with. Because the goal isn't just to weigh less. The goal is to come out stronger in midlife, to be healthier and better prepared for the decades ahead. Next, we're going to tackle something much bigger: perimenopause symptoms, because there are far more of them than hot flashes and irregular periods. And some of those symptoms women can experience can be extremely surprising. You would have never thought of that is connected to perimenopause. If you'd like more straightforward research-based information about perimenopause, menopause, and healthy aging, subscribe to our channel and join us at Lillipin. You'll also find more information at lillipin.com, and I'll put the relevant links below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.